Now is when we will recite the Pledge of Allegiance. If anybody who likes to can feel free to join us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Linda, were there any communications that we've not already heard about?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. We're moving on to the minutes. We have before us for a vote the regular public and executive session minutes from November 18th and both sets of minutes from December 9th. I'd like to move that we approve those minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
May we have a roll call, please? Oh, yeah, any comments? I'm sorry. No comments. Thank you.
Ms. Byer?
Yes.
Ms. Coleman?
Yes.
Ms. Gowan?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Magaziner?
Yes.
Mr. Roslevich?
Yes.
Mr. Woodward?
Yes.
And now it's time for our student representative report. Hello, students. Thanks for being here.
Hello. So, at the high school, we had our first student senate meeting of the year on the 13th, so all student concerns were shared with Mr. Lassiter. Our winter break is the 20th through the 2nd. Our winter assembly that is hosted by the music department is the 20th. And this year, DECA did a holiday fundraiser, sending candy. Anyone could buy candygrams to raise money for our national conference. And we also did Toys for Tots drives and have accumulated quite the amount of toys. Oh, and at the middle school, there's a snowflake dance on the 12th.
Over at Bartle, they're having their winter concert at December 19th at 6 p.m. Epic's Winter Spirit Week is from December 16th to the 20th. Monday will be winter cheer wear, so all the winter gear you can have. Tuesday will be Penguin Day. Wednesday is winter sports. Thursday is winter characters, and Friday is let's cozy it for the new year. New year wear for your favorite pajamas. And lastly, at Irving, we cannot thank our generous families enough for their support of Operation Snowflake. We are able to put a smile on the faces of 24 children. We have our winter parties and family sing-alongs on December 20th. And lastly, we wish a beautiful holiday season to the entire Board of Ed from the Irving family.
Right back at you. Thanks. And that's it. That would be all four schools. All right, it's time for Scott's report. Thank you very much, students.
The only thing I'd like to report tonight is the honor of having two of our students from the high school here, Mr. Lassiter, Mr. McLean, and Ms. Pollock, have also come by to recognize their achievements. So I'm going to ask that Mr. Lassiter come to the podium and say a few words.
Hello, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. It's always fun to come out and recognize the students. So we've put the word out to the high school faculty and collected a bunch of nominations, and then with the help of guidance, we selected two students to recognize tonight. And so the first student, who was nominated by Ms. Pollock and Mr. Curtis, nominated Alex Hosupfeld. He is currently in our GLOW program, participating in a structured learning experience. Both of these faculty members feel he has made tremendous progress over the course of this year from last year. He has become a productive and engaging employee at his job placements. Alex is a student who came to us from out of district and in all honesty struggled to adjust to life at Highland Park High School in the past few years. He was quite challenging and rebellious at times, like many students, but this year you would never know Alex was that same student who walked into Highland Park High School a few years ago. Alex is maintaining jobs at 4 different sites, including LA Fitness, Katie's Pet Depot, the Deca Store, and Penstock Coffee Roasters. He has developed his communication skills and has fluent conversations with staff and peers in person through email and text. Alex is very excited about what he is doing and has been working really hard this year to show he is now one of our golden owls worthy of this superintendent spotlight. And Ms. Pavlik came tonight and might want to add a few things about Alex as well.
So just to echo everything that Mike's just said, Alex, we are so proud of you. And you have achieved all your goals thus far and really have. So Alex has been very interested in making coffee, which we found was a passion of his from last year. And Alex now works at Penstock. And you started working at the coffee bar, really cleaning the coffee bar, refilling the sugars. And now Alex is serving lattes and making lattes for customers. Wow. And we couldn't be prouder of you. And we're very excited to see what else you do this year because it's just started. So we're proud of you, Alex.
So come on up here and get this award, young man.
Family, come on up. Take a big picture. Congratulations.
Come on over here.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Congratulations, sir.
And next, we want to honor Joyce Moe. Ms. Young, who wasn't able to be here tonight, nominated Joyce Moe, a senior who has demonstrated our OWL's mission in every way. And I just want to add that I've known Joyce since 6th grade, and I am so proud of all the changes and growth she's shown over the years. And so Ms. Young echoed our OWL's mission and wants to make sure we spell it out. So for openness, Joyce has good morals and high integrity. She does everything to the best of her ability, whether in academic courses or club events. She is curious and always interested in learning. She shows dedication and perseverance in everything she does. For wisdom, Joyce is not only book smart, but she is also in touch with her social and emotional intelligence because she knows the satisfaction she gains from helping others. She willingly offers her time as a tutor and teaching assistant. If someone asks her for help, she is always willing to lend a hand. With her easy smile, people feel better just by being with her. Joyce has made tremendous growth in this area since she was in middle school, and a student full of emotions, as many of our middle school students are. Leadership. Joyce spearheads many activities during her work with the environmental and Red Cross clubs. She works with other members to get these programs implemented and continues to come up with ideas to help improve the school, the Highland Park community, and herself. And then spirited service. It is Joyce's leadership in the environmental club that helped to build the sharing table program that we have right in this room currently, that we do that every high school lunch. It helps package food and snacks from being thrown away by redistributing it during after-school programs in our school and in our district. Joyce Moe truly deserves to be a Golden Owl and to be highlighted by this superintendent spotlight. So come on up here, Joyce.
I just want to point out that Joyce has led not only the development of the shared table here, but also in our Irving, Bartle, and middle schools. So we now have shared tables in each of those schools. Awesome, Joyce. And then if you'd like, you can step. There you go. That's good.
Oh, perfect.
Thank you, Ms. Pollock.
Yeah, go ahead, sure. I'll be in the back. Okay.
3, 2, 1.
So at this time, we're going to take a 30-second break as I get resettled. Those of us who are not staying are welcome to head out. The weather is a little challenging, so if you're driving a distance, that's everybody on my left side pretty much, I would head out now. I'm going to continue my report by giving everybody an update once our guests leave about the a very good update, actually, about the project we're focusing on to provide free wireless access to our free and reduced lunch students. Give me one second.
The best part of the evening is now over, so you picked the right time to leave. Thanks for coming, everybody.
Thank you.
Courtesy of Julia.
Convenient.
Thank you, Mr. Lassiter.
Thanks, Mike.
I'm going to keep everybody in the know the next few meetings now that we finally, thanks wholeheartedly to Ms. Krupski's work on the traction we're finally gaining to provide some kind of either low cost, very low cost, or free wireless access for all of our subsidized meal qualifying students. Turns out that recently T-Mobile, Sprint, and the other major providers, Verizon and AT&T, settled a class action suit. And as part of the settlement, have had to set aside funding to support initiatives like this, providing access to kids in need, specifically students. So T-Mobile already met with Ms. Krupski, actually came to her office. They can offer all of our Title I students, our free and reduced lunch qualifying students in all grades, access at approximately $5 a month. That would come with the equipment, so the service fee would be approximately $5 a month. Sprint, over the phone, told Ms. Krupski that their settlement program would provide free service and equipment to high school students only who qualify for subsidized meals. She's going to be following up with each of them, having a second round of meetings. I hope within the next month or so to come back to the board with a more detailed program to present to you. So that's wonderful news. And if you...
So sorry.
It's okay. It is exciting. I mean, this is really exciting stuff.
Oh, okay. Get your computer. Move your computer hand.
If you happen to see Ms. Krupski in the hall or you run into her by email, give her a big word of thanks. I think you're okay.
I don't even know
right?
what happened. I tapped it very gently.
Yeah, it just...
That's just ice.
It just went over.
Right? Is that ice?
Thank you.
You got overly excited with the good news.
It was very exciting.
And
Yeah.
that caps my report in style.
Oh, good Lord. Yeah, go ahead, Monique.
So I guess you probably can't answer any questions about the program.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, is there a limit, I wonder, on...
No,
Okay.
no, absolutely not. There's no
Okay.
cap.
Good.
As many students, I asked the same question.
Yeah, and for each student, I'm wondering, like, do they have, like, is it a year you can be on it? Is it through your entire middle and high school career? I wonder.
That we don't know. We don't know the duration of the program yet. We just got the basics. But as soon as I know that information, I promise I'll share. In fact, what I'll angle to do is have Ms. Krupski come in person to a board meeting and make the presentation personally.
Oh, did I get the equipment? Oh, don't touch them, Linda. They're insulated, yeah, but... Still, I don't know if you're risking that.
Oh my God,
I think the viewers are, this is a treat for the viewers. I mean, there is a lot more excitement tonight.
Oh, boy. Fortunately, no one got electrocuted.
Board meeting in ages.
Well, that was a pleasure. Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Mark. Boy, I will endeavor not to cause any more problems here. So you asked your question. That's absolutely thrilling. That's just wonderful. And I wonder if we wind up with the $5 a month program, if we might consider some sort of funding for students that can't pay the, how many months is it, $45 a year? But I mean, that's something to talk about.
Yeah, let's hope that the multi-gazillion-dollar communications companies can actually find a way to fund that. But yes.
I don't know. It's such a.
Sprint already is, right?
Yeah, Sprint
already
is.
Free for high school. Oh, for high school. Yeah.
Only Sprint for high school only, T-Mobile for all grades. I will have Ms. Krupski come to a board meeting to personally make a presentation about the details once she can finesse them. That's
great
it. That's
news.
my report.
That's
Fantastic.
exciting. Wow.
Fantastic.
Wow.
Well done.
Thank you, Scott.
something
Thank
that
you,
we've
Ms.
been
Krupski.
talking about for a long
Thank
time.
Ms. Krupski.
Oh, Ms. Krupski.
Ms. Krupski.
Wow. Thank you, Ms. Krupski. I'm sure she's watching right now.
I'm sorry, I have a question, because I know we
Yeah.
were talking about, this is all related, the other option of free access.
Darryl Voorhees
Right.
brought up.
So I don't know if this is separate news, but it kind of ties in. So I'm
About
wondering
the
if that-
library and other-
Right,
Yeah.
and does that make that particular option no longer?
So I did attend a library board meeting, and that issue came up, and it was clarified that they do provide access to the kids if they come in. And they have, by the way, noticed them bringing their own devices to the library. So they do have access to use the library network with their laptops.
Oh, at the library.
At the
Correct.
library.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Well, we're within vicinity of the library. So they could conceivably, if it's a nice day, they could sit outside and tap into their wireless access. Of course, I know that Dr. Nicosia reached out to businesses that we know have free Wi-Fi, like Stop and Shop and Dunkin' Donuts. I don't know beyond that what she may have done to formally set up an agreement. Actually, there are a lot of places now in town. Penstock, I think the Burger Joint even has free Wi-Fi. So just about anywhere in town, right?
So we just need to get them on board with not harassing students who might be sitting for a few minutes.
But I guess Daryl's suggestion you were talking about was the rental of hotspots from the library.
Oh,
Yes,
renting
thank you.
hotspots.
Thank you.
I
Yeah,
missed
knew
this
there
email
was more
somehow.
to it than just getting access in the library.
Yeah, where they
Yeah.
could take them home for the, I don't know
Right.
what the.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
Yeah, thank you, Chris.
misinterpreted.
So was that
I'm not aware
discussed?
of that availability through the library. I'm
Didn't he email
referring
us?
to
I
what
missed the
Judy
email.
mentioned. No, we were not able to. Ms. Krupski did reach out to the county library system, and there doesn't appear to be anything in place at the county level here in Middlesex like there is in. Is it Somerset?
Oh, okay.
I think.
Yeah, I think he's a.
Judy Petrobono did reach out to us and said there was a program in another
Right.
county.
But we don't have.
Doesn't
that.
exist in Middlesex County.
Got it.
Thank you for the point, for reminding me, Chris.
Yeah. Okay, just throw that in there.
No, that's great. I forgot about that. All right, we'll cross our fingers that this works out. This sounds very, very promising. All right, are we ready to move on to our board committee reports? Michelle is not here. Let's see. Oh, I know. Remind me who's on curriculum because I was
I think it's
confused.
the other Rob.
The other Rob, thank you. I got this
tall
wrong
Rob.
last time. The tall Rob. And who else? Who's our third? Why do I not know? Mark?
No?
Monique?
What? Oh, yes, third member. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
here.
Do one of you, I actually haven't,
I don't.
there's a few new items. Is there anything you want to highlight for the,
Let's look.
for our audience at home? So people know, anything that's in bold on the agenda is an item we did not.
There's nothing new.
Oh, am I looking at the wrong
We
one?
went over this last time.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was mistakenly looking at finance as I said that.
New,
Yeah.
but not
Okay.
in curriculum.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't see anything.
Does anybody have any questions about the curriculum items?
No.
No? All right, let's move on to finance. Mark.
Okay, so we do have some new items.
And those are the ones that are in bold print.
Right. So we have item 2, which is the approval of the attached bill list from November 16th to November 30th, $515,000 in change. The cafeteria bill list, number 4, November 23rd through 29th, $9,464.68. And then approval of treasurer's reports for June, July, August, and September, and approval of the board secretary's report. And these are for June, July, August, and September. And then Board of Education certifications, that's numbers 14 through 17, for, again, from June, July, August, and September. 18 through 21 are also new, approval of budget transfers, and that's also, again, June, July, August, September.
And then moving on, I think the others we went over. I do want to point out items 23, which is the Highland Park Education Foundation grants, the 2 community grants from Walmart, and the donation of music CDs from Ray Anderson as gifts to the district, of which we're very appreciative. But otherwise, there is nothing new here. Oh, I do have to table item number 29. So we will not be voting on that this evening. We don't have the final agreement, but we do expect it, and I think that maybe that could go on the agenda at our reorganization meeting on January 6th. And Linda, we can put other items on the reorg meeting, yes?
Dr. Taylor, do you want to respond to that? Dr. Taylor.
Scott.
I'm currently trying to reach out to our board attorney, actually. I'm pulling up information about that resolution, just to be sure that, in fact, it's not been. Yeah, I'm pulling up my notes, and I'm sorry. So can you repeat that question?
Scott, I just wondered if we are not able to vote on that tonight, can we vote on it on January 6th in a reorganization?
We can make it an action item,
Okay.
absolutely. We've done that before. But I'm going to verify before the vote, just to be sure that
Thank you very much.
Wonderful, thank you. Are there any questions or comments about finance? When I first saw this number, $515,000, I was surprised, and I would just note that most of that is for our maintenance. It's our maintenance contract, right? With, how do you pronounce it? Italian. With Italian. So we don't always spend that much money, but when we do, it's for really big purchases. And now personnel, which is me. Let me just get to the right agenda page. All right. So everything that's not in bold, we've already discussed. The bolded items are pretty self-explanatory. We have a new paraprofessional, transfers of some paraprofessionals, revised date for a teacher, number 15, staff going for English as a second language training. I'm not going to go through all of this. It's really pretty self-explanatory. Let me just reassure myself of that.
Nothing, I'm sorry, go ahead. Nothing else that I would highlight, except for the volunteer, by the way.
Oh, yeah, that's exciting. What is that? A volunteer tutor at the high school?
Well, we just we have somebody who wants to step up and start working in the school, considering a teaching career.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, look, just for the board's sake and the community should know that we always vet the volunteers. They have to go through the fingerprinting process, background check, so we don't just have you pass a resolution, then the person comes on board.
Yeah, the resolution that we're moving, the motion I'll be making is to accept the recommendation to approve this volunteer pending criminal history background check.
Right.
So that will all happen first. All right, are there any questions or concerns about personnel? No? Okay, let's go on to policy.
Okay, so we have the policy for second reading. I'll do that first, number 2. Which is the change, a small change to the student, with a small change to the student suicide prevention mandatory policy. We've put on the substance abuse policy and the substance abuse regulation, but I'd like to table B, the regulation. That didn't get quite far enough, and there are still some legal questions there. Because these follow the law. I mean, there's a New Jersey law on both substance abuse, in fact, on all of these. So we have to follow it, but there were some questions on whether certain parts are mandatory to the board or certain parts are voluntary. The substance abuse policy, on the other hand, is pretty solid now. And I think we're ready to make the changes. There were only 1 or 2 very small changes made to that. So tabling B, but and hopefully have something in a month on that one to move that to first reading, but moving forward on A.
Okay, wonderful. Does anybody have questions or thoughts about those policies? All right. Then, if I'm not, equity and excellence, I'm so sorry.
Yes, and we did meet after a few setbacks. We had to push back the meeting a couple times, but we did fit in a meeting before this meeting.
Wonderful.
And we just had 2 items on the agenda. The first one was, again, the memorandum of agreement with law enforcement and education officials, which Scott did indicate that he hasn't really received pressure to submit it to the county yet for approval. So. And when I say submitted, I'm really referring to the addendum that we created, which we discussed in previous board meetings. So what we are doing, what we want to do now is actually go over one of the points in the MOA that we have some questions and concerns about to come with our attorney, get some counsel feedback before we submit the addendum. And this particular item I'm referring to indicates that the school should enter into an agreement with law enforcement that allows law enforcement to have access to the live streaming video surveillance that the school district has, and whatever schools have that capacity. So, and I think we all expressed concerns just about whether or not we agree with the idea of the police department being able to have that sort of ongoing access at their fingertips to the video surveillance equipment in all the schools. And so we want to just see what council has to say and then come up with possibly an addenda item that speaks to that, and perhaps with some stipulations, like saying perhaps only accessing outdoor cameras. And I'm talking about just the streaming. Of course, if there's an incident that occurs that we need to be able to give access to our surveillance videos, then that's a different story, and clearly that's something we would submit to. But I think we were just concerned about just having the police department able to monitor our video stream at any point that they choose without our control. Right. So we will continue discussing that, and hopefully get, maybe by the next time we meet next month, be able to get some feedback from council. And I think that was it about that particular issue. One thing that we did discuss too was just who actually in the building, and speaking about the high school, who has access to the surveillance equipment. So just to be clear, the building administrators are really the only staff that are able to access the film of our surveillance equipment, and they can access it on their tablets. The video stream is not, it's motion detected, so it's not constantly going in the hallways and where they're located inside the building, which is also good to know. So it's really only activated when the motion senses it. The other topic that we discussed was just a review of the district ISS and OSS data. 2 things we looked at: a comparison of where we are in terms of our demographic breakdown of the in-school and out-of-school suspension data now as compared to last year this time. And just a couple of highlights we noticed. Overall, we see a decrease for sure in the amount of in-school and out-of-school suspensions generally. However, we did see out of all the racial groups, our Latinx population had the largest kind of increase in the number, and it's still a low number because it's just a small population generally. But we did notice that, and we talked about what's happening in our ISS and what are we doing to sort of provide more of a restorative process during the time that kids spend in ISS, and we recognize that that's still an area of need, and we're going to continue to discuss how we can do what we can with the resources we have to make that time really healing, restorative, productive in terms of getting work done, making sure kids have things to do in there besides just kind of sitting and spending that time when they're not in the classroom. These are just conversations that I think we'll be carrying on into the new year for sure, because it's something that our committee is really committed to, and I know all of us are committed to making sure we improve upon. So that, yes, it's great we're not sending kids home for minor sort of nonviolent infractions, but then when they're here, how are they using that ISS time? And I think those were the 2 main points we sort of highlighted. And we also did look at a breakdown of the data in school. Let me pull this one up. Scott created a nice little cumulative breakdown from September through November, which is helpful for us to see what are the numbers looking like in terms of even the patterns. Are we seeing an increase, are we seeing a decrease, and it's just helpful to have that. And so we're going to expect to have that ongoing throughout the remainder of the school year, and so that we can continue to just stay on top of that and hopefully see improvements. And that is it.
Wonderful, thank you. Are there any comments or questions? Nope. Okay, well, that brings us to public comment.
Actually, I'm sorry, I just want to interject real quick since we're wrapping that up. I do want to point out that, as most of you know, we've had several bias incidences occurring in our school district, as they have been a problem in districts around the country. And I've developed what we call a bias incident reaction team that's made up of representatives from different schools in our district who can go to a school when an incident occurs and help develop a short-term plan to address the problem, including talking with students. We had an issue, for instance, at Bartle School recently. The team came together that included Mr. Lobianco from the middle school, Ms. Asamoah from the teen center, and worked with Ms. Maiden, who is the student and staff support teacher, to meet with kids for about 20, 30 minutes in all their classes. But one thing that we still need to do is think of the long-term plan. I mean, we're doing a lot in the area of cultural responsiveness and restorative practices, but when you're dealing with these specific incidences, I feel like it requires an expertise that we don't have to help us address those specific matters. And so I've connected with Josh Cohen, who is the regional director of the Anti-Defamation League, ADL. We're playing communication tag. I have, however, been able to make a meeting with Elizabeth Riley Williams. She is I believe she's the director of a group called the American Conference on Diversity. American Conference on Diversity. Elizabeth was the workshop facilitator when Monique and I and the different borough towns civic leaders came together, maybe a month ago on a Sunday for 3 hours. And, that's right, I'm sorry, you were there too, Andy.
That's
Thank
fantastic.
you. Yeah. And I thought she was terrific. I thought she did a really nice job, and slowly but surely having us think about our actions and about cultural responsiveness and a whole plethora of things. So anyway, I'm going to meet with her, and I don't know what's going to come of these meetings, but when and if we have something in place, I'll of course share with the board and the community. I'll likely wrap it into a formal presentation. Okay?
Can I have a question then about the bias response team? And this may seem like an obvious question, but how are we defining, like, what are these incidents? What qualifies, I guess, for this particular team to kind of?
So that's a great question. I mean, I don't have a hard, fast rule, but anytime we see a racial slur, a symbol of hate directed towards a group of people, particular according to their race, ethnicity, religion, or nationality, I activate this team. Now, in our case, we had one incident regarding one anti-Semitic incident and 6 racist-related incidences. One of which didn't involve students, 6 involving students, 1 not involving students. So they weren't, I will say that they weren't building level issues. They had more to do, except for the problem we had at Bartle, in which somebody scribbled something on a wall. But in most cases, it's involved students and other students, as opposed to something more systemic or more building level. So I guess you could say in that respect we're fortunate, but I'm very troubled by this trend. So I sent a letter, as you board knows, to the Bartle community when this incident I'm referring to occurred, and I cited the data that the State Attorney General has cited. This is an issue happening all across the state, around the country. So we've got to get a handle on it. But that's, I hope that answers your question.
Can I ask, what kind of response does the team make? Excuse me, I'm aware of the stuff at Bartle, but if it happens at another school, what kind of response if it's a student versus student situation? How do they get involved?
Well, we consider whether it's something we need to address with a larger group. So if we think it's going to have a ripple effect on other kids, then we'll get them involved. So for instance, the several incidents regarding race that occurred here at the high school in particular only involved small groups of students, and we didn't feel it was necessary to bring in the entire student body, as opposed to the situation at Bartle, which look, any child who walked into a bathroom and saw this symbol of hate on the wall would have been impacted. We also felt, by the way, that the nature of the age group prompted the need for us to work with the entire school. I mean, we don't want to have one young student starting to, I suppose, infiltrate or unduly influence other kids around him or her at such an early age. So we want to try to address that now, if we can. I mean, I think we would all agree, and this is something that Elizabeth Riley Williams talked about some days ago. It's about prevention. It's about continuing our work around cultural responsiveness. So I think that in the long run is going to help us. Of course, the politics don't help at all either, if I may say so.
So, excuse me, I'm going to assume one thing that you'll be working on with the ADL contact and Ms. Williams will be addressing, like, whether there is a pattern in any of our schools.
I don't know.
Because it does seem like if we've had 6 incidents, we're talking about this academic year.
Yep, since September.
So even though each one doesn't necessarily mandate or trigger a systemic response, I mean, it's possible there's something systemic going on in society, but also in our building.
And they may decide that we need to have a larger plan in place, a more preventive plan right now, besides what we're doing proactively. I'm taking a cue from discussions you and I have had, and we'll collate the information I get from Elizabeth Riley Williams and Josh and see if I can integrate the two sets of input I get and work from there.
I mean, I do worry about our students. If students are aware that these incidents are happening, there may be groups in our school who feel sort of less welcome than usual, and I hope that we're cognizant of that. I mean, if I were an African-American student and I heard that there had been a number of incidents involving, if that's what it's about, derogatory language, I would hope that the school was, I don't know, making some kind of gesture of support for those students.
Absolutely. I'm sure. I mean, I can't say with all surety unless I know what has been the response, but it's been an all-hands-on-deck situation. I've been addressing with my leadership teams during our meetings the past month.
Okay. We definitely heard, do you remember that discipline-related town hall that we had in the high school building? It was a couple years ago, last year, a couple years ago?
At night,
At night, right.
Yes.
We definitely heard from some African-American students about sort of a feeling of disaffectedness and a feeling of not being welcome. That was their subjective
And that's
perception.
been long-standing, and that's what we're trying to address
And we don't want it to
the work
get
we're doing on
worse.
cultural responsiveness. Well, now what we're seeing is bias, more overt bias, but occurring from the student body. I should share with you that we had 2 incidents at Bartle. They were a result of one student. 2 incidences here at the high school were a result of one student. Same student who we had concerns about in a previous school. Mm-hmm. So hopefully it's an isolated group at this point, but we'll learn more.
Okay.
I'm sorry, yeah.
I saw a couple, more than 2
Did you have a
numbers,
question, Ms.
but-
Boudic?
Yeah, go ahead.
Earlier? Oh, okay. So that's what I wanted to share with you, and
Okay.
I'll provide more information as it
Great.
becomes available.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you very much for...
I just want to say, I think Elizabeth is great, and having her come in with her expertise and then helping our staff to really figure out the best way to address specifically what we're seeing is an uptick in these type of incidents will hopefully be very helpful. Even just the education that she can provide, and then that will translate to then the student body. Because as you said, this is historically, I think we've always had incidents of certain students feeling disaffected, but it's certainly a surge. And they need to feel supported, and so that, again, we can try to bring some restorative work to the community.
Are there any support services in our schools directed specifically toward racial, ethnic, religious minorities, or traditionally underserved communities? Like support groups for students of color, for example, or support groups for
I don't know. It's a good
students
question.
of religious minorities.
I could ask the Teen Center. They'd be the one, since they have many groups like that, I can find out.
That'd be great, yeah. I mean, I know we had Seat at the Table, which was, is that still going on? Anybody know?
From what I understand this year, I don't know, but I can almost 99% say that it's not really functioning as it were in the past, unfortunately. And I think it really just boiled down to not having enough students still interested in maintaining it once the older students went on and graduated. And so, but that was actually an avenue for students who felt like they needed a space, as was talked about in that workshop we went to, a safe space. What was the term that she used, Scott, I'm sorry, a safe space, but it wasn't a safe space. She used the term, in the training, and I don't remember, but it's essentially a safe space where they could go and feel like they have, they can, first of all, release some of their feelings about what they're experiencing, the microaggressions that they may be experiencing, and then having the support, whether or not they want to share it outside of that larger group or not, but at least knowing they have an avenue for that.
I'll follow up. I'm going to do some research and get back to the board about that, about the safe space and about the support groups we may have. I'll follow up by email.
I mean, if there's, I don't know what the situation was, but if there's a feeling that, maybe students with some encouragement would, get back on the seat at the table horse, maybe there's some faculty members who might be willing to, maybe. I mean, maybe that there's just a lack of student interest and nothing's going to help that, but.
That is an issue.
Oh, is it really?
Overall, the lack of student interest is something that not only us as seniors are working on with our grade, but even with our meetings with Mr. Lassiter and the Student Senate, it's about how to engage students.
Yeah. It's difficult. It's difficult in the community too. Everybody has strong feelings about the school board, but everybody's so busy. It's so hard to get people to come together, for a meeting, a town hall. It's just really difficult for folks. Thank you. That's good input. Okay, where were we? That was equity and excellence. Any other questions or concerns? Nope. All right. We have only one member of the public who is a district employee, but I'm going to read the announcement anyway. The Highland Park Board of Education welcomes public participation and has reserved this time for your comments. Board policies 164 and 167 establish and regulate the right of the public to participate in public meetings. I don't think we have any input today. We did talk last time about maybe occasionally looking at our YouTube feed to see if anybody, if heaven forbid there's anybody out there watching, they might have questions, or checking our email during the meeting. And maybe we could confer about that, you and I and Mark perhaps, and we could have somebody who'd be assigned to occasionally look at our email during the meeting.
I know that was brought up at the last meeting, but we never resolved how you want to play it out. Maybe at the next meeting that we have on an agenda, we could talk about that?
Let's do that. We could do it on a rotating thing.
Yeah, rotating.
Yeah, I'll check every 5 minutes or.
So with that, my view is that if we're allowing people to submit questions of the board or of the superintendent, I think those should be in advance of the meeting, and that we should be able to go through them and select ones that are pertinent in advance with some thought, as opposed to doing it on the fly. That's just my thought. And if people actually want to contribute during the meeting, we have a lot of seating.
That's true, but you know how it is. I mean, I have mixed feelings about that. I do think that we should avoid opining at the board table about some question we just got. But sometimes the questions are simple. Sometimes people have a pretty clear information, like when are we going to have the session on blah, blah, blah.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, right. So was this proposed as an invitation to welcome people to address questions to us through the YouTube channel while we're meeting, or we would just be checking it, assuming that there could be people making comments or asking questions?
I think the suggestion was we could invite it.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, it does involve, there's some equity issues, right? I mean, people don't have access. We could also invite comments beforehand, which could be submitted. I don't know, it's something to think about.
Yeah.
I definitely agree that if we get a question that is difficult, we don't want to be just trying to come up with something at the last second.
Right.
But occasionally we do get questions from the public that we're able to answer because they're factual. Once in a while.
Yeah.
Usually they're
So
pretty hard,
I was
guess.
joking a little bit about the seating, but the fact is, we would love to see people come out.
Yes, please.
And, we want to hear what's on your mind.
Yeah.
And I would add, not only are we here 2 Monday nights a month for most of the year, but there's a lot of work in committees and many other meetings that people here are putting time into. And if someone has a strong opinion on something, I think I have to agree with Rob. They could be here, and I think they have the opportunity to talk to us.
It's very difficult if you have small children, though.
Oh, of course,
I mean, I
course.
certainly experienced that. My husband was not excited for me to go to a board meeting except for 3 hours, while the children were little. And if you're a single parent, of course, it's even harder. So yes, we absolutely encourage people to come. And if you're sitting at home, thinking about some problem and brewing and stewing, then we certainly encourage you to bring that to our attention somehow before you just lose your mind. You can. Or before you're on Facebook, yes. Board@hpschools is our email address. That goes to everybody, including Dr. Taylor and I believe Ms. Hofola. Is that right? Yep. Yeah, of course, you used to respond to all of them. Yep.
And
Ed, promptly, too.
Many of us, I believe, are on that. I'm on that email right now.
Right.
So if somebody is watching, and I think it's pretty common knowledge that board@hpschools.net
Right.
is our address, they could always ask a question and say, I do have a question about the public meeting I was just watching.
Mm-hmm.
I have not, in 4 years, I don't remember ever seeing that.
It's difficult to
It's very
spend that much
very
time
difficult.
watching a meeting, even on YouTube.
And yes, and when we miss a meeting, as I missed a meeting in September, I found it very difficult to sit through hours of watching.
Right.
I fast forwarded a lot.
Or you put it on the speedy voice.
That's what I did.
Well, given the choice between Netflix and the board meeting, I get it.
I mean, a part of me does like the additional layer of accessibility this all adds to the meetings, even though I know it's all local, we're here in town, it's a small town, but if you can make it great, but if you can't, it's nice to know that we're welcoming this kind of, inclusion into the meeting and participation. And we should be responsive to it. So even if it's a larger issue that we may not be able to fully or adequately address in the moment that we're in a meeting, we can at least acknowledge we've received this particular question from a parent that we do want to follow up on it. And I think that's important that we find a way to do that, actually.
Within parameters, so we're not adding an extra.
Well, right, yeah.
Oh, sure.
Everybody here.
No, right.
Questions that we didn't know were going to come up.
Yeah.
We'd
But
have to say that this
there
was.
may be parents who may not be comfortable coming here, and they may have something that's brewing that they want to get out off their
Right,
chest.
right.
And so just even saying this in the open, that we welcome that, and feel free if you don't want to, if you're not comfortable, you can't come here due to whatever restrictions. We'd love to hear from you through these other kind of avenues, and you may not be able to sit here and spend an hour on that particular question on top of the 3 hours that we've been here, but we do want to at least acknowledge it and look at addressing
We
it.
hear you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really all it is, so.
And we're going to do something about it.
I like the idea.
Even if it's just answer your question.
We're going to do our best we can.
All right. So we'll discuss this a little bit more one-on-one before the next meeting, and then we will make some kind of announcement, hopefully at the next meeting, about this. All right. No public comment. So now, where are we? We're on voting, right? The most important thing that we do. All right. Curriculum and instruction. Would one of you curriculum folks like to move those items, or shall I just move them?
Well, we have that one.
Right, whoever makes the motion just has to make sure to modify the HIP report resolution.
Yes. Do you want me to
So
do
you
it?
want
or
to
you-
do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Russ Levitch, you want me to do it?
Yes, please.
Okay. So curriculum, I would like to move items 1, 2, and 3 with the amendment we discussed in executive session concerning number 2. So 1, 2, and 3, but 2, I'm moving that we approve it as amended per our earlier discussion. Is there a second?
Second.
May we have a roll call, please? Oh, I'm sorry. Is there any discussion? Oh, no, there's not, but thank you.
Ms. Byer?
Yes.
Ms. Coleman?
Yes.
Ms. Gowan?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Magaziner?
Yes for 1 and 3, abstain from 2.
Mr. Roslevich?
Yes for 1 and 2, no on 3.
Mr. Woodward?
Yes on 1 and 3, and no on 2.
All right, that brings us to Finance and Facilities. Would you like to move those items for us, Mark?
Yes, I'd like to move items 1 through 28, unless Scott has gotten an answer on the item 29. Scott, did you get an answer from Ari on number 29?
No, I haven't heard, so we're going to have to strike that for now.
Okay, 1 through 28, and I hopefully will have an answer just after the new year on item number 29.
Point of
Yes.
order, you are
Tabling?
moving to also table item 29, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly, tabling 29.
Thank you.
Is there a second to those two motions, or that one bifurcated motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Second. May we have a roll call, please?
Ms. Byer?
Yes.
Ms. Coleman?
Yes.
Ms. Gowan?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Magaziner?
Yes.
Mr. Roslevich?
No to 23 and 24, and yes on the remainder.
Mr. Woodward?
Yes.
Okay, personnel, that's me. I would like to move items 1 through 28. Is there a second?
Second.
May we have a roll call, please? Oh, I'm sorry. Gosh, I can't remember that. Any discussion? Discussion?
Okay.
Sorry, Linda.
Ms. Byer?
Yes.
Ms. Coleman?
Yes.
Ms. Gowan?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Magaziner?
Yes.
Mr. Roslevich?
Yes.
Mr. Woodward?
Yes.
Okay. We did not have any equity and excellence. Oh, policy. Oh, my goodness. I know. I'm never going to get through this agenda correctly all the way. Maybe the last day that I'm acting president. Policies, Mark.
Thank you. I'm going to move item 1A and 2 and table 1B.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Discussion.
Oh, discussion. God, I can't do it. Gosh.
One more time, you've tabled
1B.
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 Okay.
Is there any discussion? No. Okay. Could we
Ms.
have a roll
Byer?
call?
Yes.
Ms. Coleman?
Yes.
Ms. Gowan?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Magaziner?
Yes.
Mr. Roslevich?
Yes.
Mr. Woodward?
Yes.
I believe that brings us to the end of our action items, but, correct me if I'm missing anything important, guys. And that brings us to our board liaison reports. Okay, our municipal drug and alcohol.
There has not been a meeting since last I reported.
Mark, Borough of Public Information, Highland Park Television.
No, nor item M, Cable TV Advisory. None of the three.
Oh, there you are. Okay. Yep. Excuse me. The Education Foundation, Mr. Magaziner.
Yeah, I think I reported on that the last time.
I think you did.
Yeah.
Yep. Commission for Universal Access, Mr. Woodward.
I'm not sure if there didn't get any notice about a meeting last month, so I'm not really sure.
All right, cool. Public Library. Our new supervisor, Ms. Rodriguez, is officially our Public Library liaison. Did you want to share a report from the
we'll
meeting?
be alternating meetings.
Oh, good. Okay.
I went to the meeting on November 25th. It was actually a short meeting. The highlights included, one, the soon-to-be appointed new director. They're conducting the search. I understand they're down to 2 or 3 semifinalists. And I also heard through the grapevine that the credentials are very strong for these individuals. Mark, maybe it was you who told me, because I know you had some friends on. Anyway.
No, not for me.
Okay. Well, I've heard very good things from some source about the incoming semifinalists. The other thing that came up had to do with just still dealing with some facilities issues. There was a minor leak in the roof back in November, but other than that, it was pretty quiet. So the next meeting will be in January. That'll be Michelle's meeting to take on.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Let's see. Special Education Parent Advisory Committee, Ruth Byer.
So I just was speaking to
Yes.
Rob tonight, and hopefully we'll get in touch. And
Oh, a little closer to the mic.
oh, sorry. I was just speaking with Rob tonight, and Alex's dad, and hopefully we'll be in touch soon, and I'll see what's going on in the newly reorganized CPAC.
Wonderful. POSAC. Has POSAC been meeting? Or are they on a hiatus?
There, yeah,
A little bit of
a hiatus, reorganization, recruitment, so a few things going on right now. So I don't think I've missed anything. There have been no meetings that I'm aware of.
Okay. Human Relations, we are meeting on Wednesday. I have not been to a meeting since my last report. Board of Health, I think I saw Michelle at a meeting as I passed by the conference room door. I trust she will bring us up to speed next time. Green Team, Mr. Ruslevich, anything to report?
No.
Cable TV, a delegate to New Jersey school boards. Mr. Ruslevich, delegate to Middlesex County school boards.
The program that was scheduled for last week was canceled. It was a discipline in special education. So hopefully they find it. Hopefully they find a time to reschedule that program, because that definitely looked interesting. The next thing they have coming up is an all-day program about safer schools at Rutgers University, and that's in January.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next thing is I think they came up with the celebration date when they honor students, and it'll be May 7th of next year.
Great. This is safer schools as in physical safety?
Yes.
That kind of safety, not
just
emotional safety.
Not emotional safety, but more about just the physical aspects of the school and safe schools. But it's like 9 to 3 somewhere at Rutgers.
Wow, that's so tough for volunteer board members.
But as I find out more about it, I will pass it on.
Maybe if there's anything specific on the agenda that you think Scott would be interested in, you could pass that along. You know,
absolutely.
like somebody's giving a presentation on blah, blah, blah. You could get the materials or something.
If it was anything like the program that was done a month and a half ago, which they kind of just touched on a lot of the aspects of school safety, and then also like having people within the school who just kind of like know the students and know what the students are up to and interact with the students and kind of have a handle on things, and also in some respects had the aspect of what we're doing with the interventions and other aspects of it.
Yeah.
Just having that kind of sense, it wasn't all just talking about security cameras and security doors.
Right.
There was more to it than that, and it was rather compelling the way it was presented. So I'm interested to see if once I get a better sense of what the program is in January.
That'd be great. Thanks. I know we have a pretty robust physical safety in the schools plan that you've developed with other faculty members and teachers, and faculty members and administrators. So, but maybe there's something we can add to it. I do like that idea, Rob, that maybe some of the work the administration is already doing and our teachers are already doing may be leading us to a place where, as a side effect of that, we also have an eye on anything dangerous that might be brewing.
I agree.
Hopefully. All right. I don't think I skipped anyone. Anybody feel skipped? No. All right. President's report. I have no president's report. We do have goals on new business, but I have nothing to report as president. Old business. Does anybody have any old business? All right. New business. Approval of board goals. I'm going to move. Whoa. Sorry about the feedback. I'm going to move that we approve the board goals that we looked at last time as our final board goals for the 1919-2020 school year. This school year. 2019 to 2020 school year.
Second.
Should we have a roll call on that?
Discussion.
Ms. Hofela? Oh, discussion. Yes, discussion.
I
Brief discussion.
I'll try to make it brief. I'm trying to go back to one of the lines, and I don't have it open right now. But there was, when we were talking about the math program at the middle school, and we were talking about, I think it was 6th grade and 6th grade plus.
Right.
And I'm just trying to differentiate it. Looking at that quickly, it seemed like we were falling back towards the math program that we already have in place, where we have different. So,
what do you mean?
Because I feel like right now we have what we were talking about was having all the kids in the same sixth grade math class.
Right.
But the way I read it, it seemed like then we were creating a sixth grade math and a sixth grade plus.
No, it's supposed to be a sixth grade plus for everyone.
Sixth grade plus for everyone.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're one math class, whatever you want to call it, 6A for all, or 6 plus for everyone, or special 6 for...
Okay, so I misread it. That-
No, if the language is confusing, then we should fix it. Do you remember what it was?
I'd like to find that section, but...
I can read.
Thank you.
Oh, Rob's...
I can read the language. It says, continue designing Math 6 Plus class. Provide professional development, blah, blah, blah. So I'm not seeing any indication that it's anything else then.
Does it make clear that it's for all? I don't remember the language. That it's not just...
Oh, yeah, actually it does. Letter A.
It says...
Continue redesign of Bartle class, blah, blah, blah. All sixth graders are ready to succeed in a redesigned consolidated Math 6 Plus class, replacing current Math 6 and 6A classes. I think that's pretty clear.
That seems clear.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
I could see how you could read it as...
I misread it the last time we were here, and it was still bothering me, but I hadn't had the opportunity to go back to it.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Okay, so that was the discussion. Now it's time for a roll call, I believe. I think. Thank you.
Ms. Byer?
Yes.
Ms. Simoresti? I'm sorry. Ms. Coleman?
Yes.
Ms. Gowan?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Magaziner?
Yes.
Mr. Wislovich?
Yes.
Mr. Woodward?
Yes.
Was there any other new business that's not on the agenda?
Yeah, I have just one thing.
Yes, go.
How to cut around. You're too far away.
Oh, yes, you need to bring it next year.
So I've had a couple of students approach me about cafeteria issues,
Oh.
food issues in particular, that apparently and this was brought up maybe last year by high school students about the portion sizes, which continues to be an issue, but also they've had days where the food was actually, where they ran out of food, and kids could not get the lunch that they were going to purchase originally.
So there was other food available, but not the lunch that they wanted?
Yeah, they ran out of certain things on the menu.
I see.
But it happened like a couple of days in a row, so that it was sort of standing out as an issue. So a group of students came to me.
I can reach out to the food services director and follow up with you about that.
Okay.
I'll follow up with the full board, obviously.
Yeah, thank you.
Is the portion size still an issue, do you
Still
think?
an issue, yeah.
Can we find out about the
Very
portion?
small, yeah.
Okay, so portion size and why are we running out of food all of a sudden?
What school is
Oh, sorry, let me, Chris go, if you don't mind.
Please.
Chris?
So just as a new board member, I'd appreciate just a larger sort of overview of, the whole issue. I know there's been a lot of discussion among the parents about the healthy options.
Yes.
And I'm just, as someone who joined the board recently, I'm just not as knowledgeable as I should be about things in general.
I mean, I think none of us are as knowledgeable what improvements could be made to the healthiness of our food. I know periodically we have suggestions that we need to make it healthier, and I don't think we've ever sort of like taken it as a priority to make that happen. Let me put a pin in that and go to Mark.
Oh, I just wondered, was this school specific, or was this a problem in
Well,
more than one of the schools?
Middle school and high school.
Middle school and high school, okay.
Oh, okay, Scott, so both middle school and high school.
Well, and just to Chris's question, I think in the past, as you mentioned, the point was that the portion sizes were too small. Like the kids weren't getting enough food. They felt.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was mainly at the high school, I thought.
Yeah, that was a high school.
I'll be sure to follow up with the board as soon as possible.
Yeah, and have we ever actually looked at the menu options to see
Yes.
how many healthy options they have?
Maybe it's time.
Just do some sort of inventory.
We're doing it just in time for our seniors to graduate, right?
It's going to be all better.
It's going to be so delicious next year.
Do you have any input on this? You're both at the high school.
So I might be the only senior who stays in for lunch on a regular basis, but
right.
I tend to get the cold lunch option, which are like the salads, the pre-made subs, and I find that the salads are pretty nice. They're pretty big, but the sandwiches are on the smaller side.
Okay.
And then for the hot lunch option, it's probably definitely the most popular still, and it depends on what they're serving for the portion sizes, but when they have something easy like a pasta, you typically get a lot, but when it comes to something more fun, like French fries or like breakfast for lunch, you usually get a smaller portion size for something like French toast sticks. So it might not be enough for certain kids. But
That's interesting. So Scott, if you could add that to your what you're going to prod them about.
It's interesting. I stopped by.
Thank you.
I stopped by the our provider, who I can never get any of our names right, which I should because being on the finance committee. But I stopped by a provider at the NJSBA convention each of the last couple of years, and they talked a lot about the healthy options and about the salads, and that was like almost a selling point. They have a live board member who is their customer, but they didn't go much further than that. So I didn't know any of this, and it's very, very interesting. And yes, if we could follow up, that would be very, very helpful.
And Scott, when is the last time that we sort of systematically looked at the lunch options and evaluated their healthiness?
Well, I know I haven't done it in 4 years. It's something that's worthy. Look, if we really want to make it an issue, I can get a whole team of students together, and
what about this new?
The Rutgers program.
Yeah.
I do want to comment that the State Division of Child Nutrition monitors every school district in the state periodically, and this year we are under review. We do have to comply with all of the state and federal guidelines on the meals as far as they have certain criteria that we have to meet with regard to levels, quantity, fat content, sugar content, all of those, things to make sure that we don't offer things that are too high in those unhealthy components. So we do have to have certain components that we meet. It is kind of a formula. And then we give them our menus. They have to evaluate our menus, including all the way down to every ingredient, every calorie. It's very detailed, very detailed review.
So change is difficult, I would imagine, if they have to look at that new recipe.
Well, you have certain things you have to comply with. There's like a checklist.
Right.
You have to make sure that the meal that you want to offer has every one of those components on that checklist.
Which I imagine is why we don't do this. We provide this through a third-party service.
Absolutely.
Otherwise,
it's very complicated.
We would go crazy. Right. It's hard enough.
They're experts on this.
They are experts. It's clear.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's hard for me to know what.
I'd like to personally go to the high school and walk around at lunch one day, seriously.
Yeah, no,
and
that's a good
see
idea.
what's going on. I'm retired. I live a block and a half from the high school.
You should
so
do
if
it.
you guys see me over there,
I'll give you a tour of the cafeteria.
For free food.
Maybe I'll come
Someone's
and get a meal.
snooping around your trays. You don't
That's
know who
right.
it is.
That's right.
We'll let you even serve meals.
I would do it.
So we have the action items about the portion size and the running out of food. In terms of the nutritional stuff, this partnership that you have initiated with Rutgers, is that something that
Could be something. I don't know
if they would look at our school lunches.
I don't see it directly impacting our food service providers' work, but when's our contract up?
Well, we're in the first year of a new contract. Oh. And we have to contract with a company that is approved by the Division of Child Nutrition.
Yes.
Okay. So there are only certain providers in the state that would be even eligible to submit a proposal.
I don't know that we're necessarily interested in switching providers right now, but we do periodically have parents and students talk to us about possibly making the menu healthier. And maybe that's a subjective perception that's not correct. Maybe it is healthy if you get the salad and don't only eat French fries. My kids don't eat lunch, so I don't know, but that would be one way that But maybe we could, I don't know, would you guys like to see some menus? Or do you all feel like you know what's being offered because you have kids or recently had kids?
No, I think we should.
I think we should know what's being offered.
Learn something about this.
Could we, next time, maybe have a menu for each school for the month? Those monthly menus they publish? Yeah, you bring it for us, take a look. Thanks.
Maybe we can sample.
If we sample it, it's going to be very.
How about dinner's on me next time, and we're gonna feel it like a student feels it, huh?
Scott, we're going to see Mike on Wednesday morning, right, for our discussion.
Yes.
I'll talk to him about meeting me at lunch at the high school.
Okay.
Just to see with my own eyes.
We would love to have parent feedback, though. If we haven't heard anything about the lunch menu for a while, so if anybody is listening.
Well, maybe that's a good thing.
Oh, maybe that is a good thing, yeah. Or maybe they're just frustrated and waiting for us to do something. Yeah.
There's been social media.
Oh, there has been social
yeah,
media
discussion about this. Yeah.
Huh.
I can maybe forward it too.
That'd be great. Yeah.
Not because that's a great way to base board.
No,
policy
but
on,
if
just to get
Is
this policy.
that a high school group in particular on social media?
No.
it's all over Facebook, the whole everybody on Facebook is talking.
Pretty common complaint. Yeah.
I'd love to see that. Yeah, I'd just like to see like what people are pointing at specifically. I mean, if it's just sort of like, school lunch is the worst, that's not very helpful. Okay.
Hey, did you want to talk about, as a new business, about the calendar for next year?
Funny, with the board calendar or the school calendar?
The board calendar.
Board meetings.
The board meeting calendar.
Yes.
That's going to be up for approval at the reorg meeting.
Right, but you circulated that.
I did circulate it.
So we were going to kind of review it.
So we should probably discuss it, yes, before. So do people have feelings about it?
I didn't have any concerns.
I didn't have any concerns. I assume that this was checked with the appropriate rabbis and
We have.
other religious personnel.
Yes.
I went over it.
I did too.
Oh, you told me
I
that.
also didn't,
I just
so
thought
many
we
of the
should say
Jewish
it, that's
holidays are
It's-
actually on a
You're absolutely right, I
weekend.
forgot.
It's under rabbinical supervision.
Right here.
Right. Rabbi Krieger. Anyone else?
Do you like that? That was me.
All right. And we do an audit, I assume, for other religious holidays. I think it'd be a big issue. Yeah.
Oh, do we have Chinese New Year on?
Oh, is Chinese New Year accounted for?
Almost sure.
Well,
No, this is
Oh, this is a board
That's-
meeting calendar.
Board
yeah.
meetings.
But I will be getting the calendar for the school year to you, hopefully in February. That's the plan.
Then we can really
It's being
fight it
worked on
out.
as we speak.
Not amongst each other, but with the dates that are just so impossible.
And so I guess the only question I had about the board calendar was did we look at whether or not and I think Mark might have already looked at this, whether or not we had enough meetings in advance of when we had to vote on the budget.
You had mentioned that, and then I neglected to bring it up when I planned to. Yeah.
We might be missing,
What do you think?
I'm not certain. It's possible we're missing one meeting opportunity. I looked at it and then I just slipped my mind to do it some more. I'll look at that. I'll look at that before the new year, before we vote on this.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Thank
Good
you, Rob. I'm
point.
sorry
Very
about
good
that.
point.
You had also raised a point about maybe having an additional meeting during the summer, sort of to ensure that we don't.
Yeah, I kind of don't want to do that to myself, but at the same time,
Yeah.
I feel like going those 4 months with only one meeting each.
The rationale would be finding out stuff that happened, like all the stuff that happened in August. We find out September 5th, and we haven't had a meeting since.
I
mean, it would be.
agree.
It would obviously be
I agree with that.
voluntary.
Where it's all voluntary, but
Well, of course.
I mean,
I'm sorry. There would be no like social opprobrium if people cannot come.
I agree with that because I feel that between July, August, and September, the meetings kind of rush by, and then we're sometimes not prepared because we don't have enough time.
We don't
to
know what
review.
happened.
We don't know what happened.
Right.
It's a whole month.
And there's a lot to approve over the summer. It's not like it gets any
Yes,
lighter.
that's right. So even to have a second meeting in August.
Something closer to the start.
Yeah,
Well, obviously.
the second meeting in August. That's where I think, if you want to call it this, we've gotten into trouble. Because we don't have a second meeting
The
and
safety
we
valve
miss
meeting.
something.
Yeah.
And so if we only have 5 or 6 people there, that's what we have.
Right. Right.
But I think it might be worth doing.
Another good idea, Rob. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
Scott, could you propose another second August meeting date? When hopefully at least you're not on vacation? Excellent. Thank you. All right, any other new business? All right, then I'm going to move that we adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Wonderful. Thanks. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thanks, Andy and Scott. Thank you.
Few more weeks, we'll have some.